Happy Meal than it is to get the ingredients to make a salad, right?
Where deep fried food
Exactly.
is
Exactly. Now, you know what?
much more accessible.
And I'm not saying, you know, some people you don't have to you don't have to go vegan. You have to just cut out all the fried food and all the fast food. But now I see children, you know, that don't eat fruit, right? They don't eat vegetables, you know, and this has to change. And we have to educate. We have to educate single mothers. We have to educate single fathers. We have to educate. We educate families on living a healthy lifestyle. And we were talking about how diets are connected to mental illness, right? What you put in your body, your veins and your nervous system, you know, are the runways into feeding your body. And if you're not feeding it the right food, right, you will kill your veins, you will kill your nervous system, you will kill blood flow to your brain.
And I like what you said at the end of the commercial break. It's not your DNA.
It's your dinner.
It's your dinner.
Right, because
I love that phrase.
Because a lot of people will say, you know, I got diabetes, you know, because my mother had diabetes and her grandmother had diabetes.
It's not your family, it's your
Right,
food.
and they say, oh well, you know, it's genetics. You have diabetes because it's genetic. No, I have diabetes because I ate the same food.
That's so fatalistic. That's so like
But,
giving up your power, isn't it?
well, I mean, it's also it's not being educated, and it's also the myth, the lie. I mean, James Baldwin used to talk about the lie of white racism, right? And the lie is continued even in healthcare, that we black people have chronic diseases because it's genetic. No, it's not genetic. Black people have chronic diseases because we eat the same food as our grandmothers, as our great grandmothers, so if you change that lifestyle, right, you stop the circle of destruction, right? And that's what we have to do.
And I've heard the phrase, it's not racial, it's cultural. Can you talk about that a little?
Well, I mean, yes.
The culture of food.
The culture, soul food is not soul food, right? Soul food is slave food. Let's be clear on that, right? What we call soul food, it was created because the slaves were given the scraps, they were given the bones, they were given the leftovers, and they created food. They had no choice to do that.
Right.
And over the years, it became culturally, and they call it soul food. But the reality is, it's slave food. It's actually slave food. And you know, some people make the excuses. Well, you know what? You know, my grandmother lived to 110 off Ethernet, but still, the food was still different, right? It didn't have chemicals in it. It didn't have additives in it.
Food has changed a lot since the
Right.
50s.
Exactly.
Yeah, Anthony William talks about that too. A lot more toxic.
Exactly.
The way food is processed with chemicals, the packaging, the leaching from the metals of the cans. Like we've got a lot of heavy metal poisoning going on, falling from the air with the airplanes.
Well, yeah, I mean,
poisoning in the air.
Yeah, it's so much to address. You know, I mean, how do you do that? Like they had a report, right? So when everybody was locked in for COVID, and the report came out that the quality of the air was better. You're right. The earth took a break, right? Because people were not outside destroying Mother Earth, right? Because they wasn't driving and
That's
polluting
right.
the earth.
They had pictures of like Paris, like you could see the Eiffel Tower.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and other cities as well.
Right. So we understand what we do because we have to take a more holistic approach on even the systems that we deal with. And if we don't do that, right, we only have one Earth. So if we destroy it, you know, where are we going? You know, and there's a lot of movies that talk about that, and that's real. You know, but you know, when it comes back to living a healthy lifestyle, and me being in law enforcement, a lot of people don't know. A correctional officer's lifespan is only 18 months after retirement.
Really?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because of the stress level that we have. 58 is the average year, right, of life. And usually
Really?
we don't live. Yes.
Wow.
High blood pressure,
That's
high
much too
cholesterol,
young.
heart disease, all these things are because of the stress, right? So now,
eating the peanut M&Ms.
well, I mean,
Sneaky little
having a
snacks
bad diet, because
during
what
break.
happens with stress, right? You eat bad,
Mhm.
and not only do you eat bad with stress, what stress does to your body, it takes away your fight to fight diseases, because your body responds to stress.
Mhm.
So it sends all its energy to cope with the stress,
Mhm.
but it's not sending the proper energy to fight disease.
Build the immune system.
Exactly. So we have to really, we have to address stress. And the black community is the most stressed community than any other community in the United States. Because,
Especially lately.
right, because black men can walk out and be shot at and killed for absolutely no reason.
That's right.
Right, and we fail to talk about it, and you have millions of single black women trying to raise children in a system that looks at their children as less than human.
And
so
pays them less
absolutely
than the student for the same work.
Absolutely. So
A lot of issues. We could do 5 shows on this.
right,
So let's get back to you personally,
Yes.
because this is really because you are the plantbasedpower.org. I mean,
Mhm.
that is the branding.
Right.
Was there a moment in your brain where you clicked, say, I gotta make some changes in my life, or was it kind of a gradual thing that you became more plant-based?
Well, watching my mother. I mean, watching.
Was that the click? That was the
Yeah,
switch?
absolutely, and seeing that I was on the same medications that she was,
Mhm.
it just put me on the same direction where she was going to be.
So you looked at her and did you see your future?
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely, and I didn't want to put myself through that. And I don't want to put my children through that.
Mhm.
Not that taking care of her was a burden. It was my blessing to be able to take care of my mother the way I did.
Of course.
But would my son do that? That's a whole nother question. So, and that's just a joke on my son, but, we have to, I mean, even for ourselves, right? And I want to be here to see my granddaughters graduate from college, right? I want to be here to maybe have great grandchildren. My mother was blessed to know her great grand, till she was 6 years old. But I wanna watch them grow, and I wanna live a healthy life. And in order to do that, right, you have to change. You have to change your lifestyle. One thing we have in plant-based power is called the levels of self, right? So you have self-awareness, self-respect, self-love, and then self-defense. You have to have that. And when you have self-awareness, the first thing you have to do, you have to study. You have to find out who you are. You have to think about living a healthy lifestyle, and you have to begin to change that. And once you have self-awareness, you have self-respect for yourself. Before you respect anybody else, you have to respect yourself, right? If you drink a whole bunch of alcohol and knowing that alcohol messes up your kidneys and liver, then you're not really respecting yourself, right? If you're doing things that you know is adverse to yourself, then you're really not respecting yourself. And once you begin to respect yourself, you begin to love yourself, right? You have to a lot of problems that people have that end up in health issues is because they do not respect or they do not love themselves, right? And they're looking for other people to do that for them instead of doing it for themselves. And that creates health issues because it creates stress. And once you get to the point where you're respecting and you're loving yourself, then it becomes defense, right? You have to have proper defense of that love and respect, right? And doing that, knowing the people that you need to get away, or sometimes it might be physically self-defense, because you want to protect yourself and you want to protect. Exactly.
That's good. That's a nice framework. We are talking to Damon K. Jones, the founder of plantbasedpower.org. We'll be back after these messages. Thank you for tuning in.